This is an excerpt from the book The Defiant by Shalom, Yoran. The official salaries for the employees were set in the following manner. Of the total net income of the cooperative, 2/3 was to be taken by the Scholitz Industrial Cooperative. The remaining third was then divided among the employees. My salary was set at 13% of the employee's share. The Soviet regime didn't consider this system exploitation of the worker. It was explained to us that we, the workers, should be proud to give up 2/3 of our earnings because it went to our own workers' government, whereas the workers' money taxed by capitalist governments went to the capitalists who exploited the workers. It was hard to swallow that propaganda. The average photographer made 250 rubles a month, whereas it required 1,000 rubles to support a family of 4. An unskilled worker earned roughly 200 per month. A manager earned 750 a month. But managers had access to things unavailable to the rest of the workers, and were in a position to barter with other managers for food, clothing, and so forth. We officially charged 10 rubles per picture, and delivery took 3 to 6 months. Efficiency was hardly an issue that needed to be dealt with. The fluidity and flexibility with which money and commodities changed hands had nothing to do with official Soviet systems. Luckily for us, even photographs were a trading commodity. Because I photographed the manager of a shoemaker's cooperative in 3 poses and delivered the pictures within 1 week, I got a pair of shoes in exchange. The same system worked for clothes and other necessities. Very quickly I learned how everybody at all levels supplemented their income under the Soviet regime. They invested all their ingenuity and creativity in finding ways to cheat the government and each other of money and goods in order to survive. Those who were caught were imprisoned. A popular joke at the time divided all citizens of the Soviet Union into 3 categories: past, present, and future jailbirds. A worker living alone and having to support himself had no time to stand in line for bread and other necessities. Without bribes and other forms of manipulation during working hours, he could not get along. During lunch breaks, one could go to a worker's kitchen and get a lunch for 5 rubles. But lines were so long, one could rarely get food before having to get back at work. Workers extended their lunch breaks unofficially, came to work late, and left early in order to be able to take care of their most basic needs. The government caught on to this practice, and a new law was enacted. A worker who was late once by more than 21 minutes, or 3 times by 10 minutes, would stand trial in the People's Court for truancy. The punishment could be a 25% salary reduction for 3 to 6 months, or, in recurring cases, 3 to 6 months of hard labor in a work camp, which was worse than prison. Acquiring clothes was another problem. Even if one managed to save enough money, items arrived in the shops infrequently and in very short supply. Immediately, long lines of people formed to buy them, but only the first in line could get what was available. There was no selection of style. In one instance, after a long wait, I managed to get into the store and happily bought shoes. Suddenly, I realized that what I got were 2 left shoes. When I complained to the salesgirl, she told me that was all she had, and I'd better hang on to them in the hope that the next supply would bring right shoes, regardless of style or color, and I would then own 2 pairs. I never did get the right shoes. The Soviet propaganda always depicted the working classes of other countries as hungry, deprived, and exploited. But when the Soviet soldiers occupied eastern Poland, they found stores full of food, clothes, shoes, watches, and other items, which the working class was buying without lines or restrictions. This baffled them and shook their trust in the validity of the stories they had been led to believe all their lives. But when asked by the local population about the conditions in the Soviet Union, the soldiers always said, "Oh yes, we have everything, even matches." I once jokingly asked a soldier who came to have his picture taken whether the Soviet Union had a katahat, a Hebrew word for the plague. Not understanding the word, but assuming it was something good, he said, "Oh yes, even more than you can get here."